Hi, everyone. My name is Benjamin Hori. I'm the co-founder of Spotlite and host of Model Talk. Today, I'm joined by...
Shallen from America. Hi, everyone.
So I just made a mistake and wasn't recording, so we're going to go through the intros again.
That was such a good intro. Oh.
Yeah. Okay, so
Okay.
please give us a brief rundown of like where you're from. And
So I'm Shallen, as I said, from America. I've been in Korea almost 10 years now, but I did start modeling in Cincinnati, Ohio. If anyone's watching, probably not. But Cincinnati girl here from Ohio. And yeah, I started 13, 14 with my first agency. My neighbor, she was a photographer, so she kind of like scouted me and helped me find the first agency. And then, I mean, the laws are kind of different, so that's underage in America, so I couldn't work like so much, but I was doing stuff here and there. Yeah.
So like even you can't get like a guardian to sign off?
I had a guardian, but it's hard to get a parent to always go with you to everything, like every casting, every job, and you can't work a certain amount of hours, like per week, per month kind of situation. But I was working like a little bit here and there. Until like 16. After that, start working more. But it's a bit different from Korea, whereas like I can go on a shoot here and girls are like 13, 14. They're fine. They're working all week. Yeah, it's so crazy to me because I started that age in America and it's like so limited. But yeah, so I started there and then I came here around like 17, about to turn 18. And then, yeah, kind of been back and forth ever since. So.
Well, I think like I always start at the beginning, and I think actually it's really interesting because recently I had some American, an American guy that's living in Korea and wants to get into modeling. And like, I think like you're the perfect person to kind of talk about that experience because, you're both in that same background. So like you mentioned your neighbor was a photographer, like shooting fashion or? She
was doing, fashion in more like hobby, but she was a little bit, a lot older than me. I think I was in like 3rd grade, 4th grade.
Oh, wow.
I was really young whenever I first got interested in it. And then she kind of just searched like agency for me and then went with my parents and kind of like did it that way. But it's kind of unconventional. I know a lot of people here, they just kind of like stumble into it or they come here to do like a different job and then they get scouted, this kind of thing. Even in the States, it's kind of like unconventional because it's so early. Usually you have to be at least like 16 to start thinking about that. But it was a different time. Now it's like a social media era. When I was growing up, like we didn't even have internet very much where we were. So like countryside,
Well, I mean, that's the power of like social media nowadays. It's like you can brand yourself so well online. And I think in Korea, it's super important because so many clients find talent through Instagram or other social.
It's evolved so much. Like these days, you have to kind of be more of an influencer because the brands want to have that impact. Like if they hire the model, their products can be sold to their followers and such. So it does make sense. But whenever I was starting out, it was like paper magazines. We didn't have social media. Like smartphones weren't really a thing. So it's kind of evolved like so much. I know you probably were in that era too.
Hey, I'm
so
with
both
you.
of us are in there. Like, it's crazy how things have evolved. So, I mean, there's good and bad, but come a long way.
Yeah, I remember when I started modeling, I was still using like my Motorola Razr, like the flip phone.
You had the flip. Okay, I had the slide one. Do you know the slide?
Like
the
HTC
keyboard?
ones? Yeah.
Ooh, before the iPod Shuffle.
And then people had BlackBerry, and you were always like, "Wow, that's so cool! I want that."
Oh my god.
So what was it like working in the States? I think like probably the really young stuff maybe is not so doesn't translate so well to the audience that follows now. But like when you were in the States, I guess you started in Cincinnati and then I know now you have an agency in New York, right?
Yes, yeah.
So like what was that transition like? When did that happen?
So I started like Midwest doing small jobs here and there. And at that time, my agency did try and place me in New York.
This is the Cincinnati one?
Yeah, Cincinnati agency. Okay. They tried to place me in New York and in Chicago, but I was so young then and my image was completely different. Like I didn't know how to do marketing or anything. So at that time, it didn't really work out. Guys, I'm like 174, 175. In America, that's like the bare minimum for model agencies. Like, what is it, like 5'8" then? Now it's 5'9" and up you have to be.
Yeah.
So when I actually flew to New York, I met with agencies and they were all like, no, you're too short. Like, no, you don't have a unique look, you're too short. So I was like, okay, whatever. And then actually my agency, they had placed me with an agency in Korea.
Oh,
So that's
really?
kind of the situation. Like I came here for college, but also at the same time I had my agency there place me here.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
I did start with an agency here, but it was like
So
very
did you
different from now. But
did you choose to go to school here because like you already had the placement going on, or was it like just
it was kind of like circumstance plus I was thinking like, you know what, I was rejected in New York, and also I was trying a little bit for Milan and London, and they were saying the same things like too short. So I was like, you know what, maybe Asia is a good place to be, and I wanted to study abroad anyway.
Yep.
And I just kind of happened to stumble into it. My university had like a partnership with the university here.
Okay.
So it was kind of like everything coincided at the same time, and I had already had this model agency from a young age. So I just told them like, hey guys, I want to go study abroad in like Seoul. It's a huge city. I think it's going to work. It's in Asia. So they're like, okay, and kind of sent out emails and went from there. But yeah, it's been a really long time since then, and I know the audience listening now is probably more social media heavy than we were at that time.
For sure.
Everything's kind of changed so much and evolved, but that's kind of like in a summary what happens.
Wow, that's really cool. Like I think that's like very non-traditional for most of the models that, you know, come here and then look for sponsorship, get an agency and go that route.
Yeah.
It's just kind of interesting to hear that it was like just things kind of fell together.
It kind of like fell together, but it was also a few years of struggle. Like it's kind of hard, but I think after I came here, it kind of will fit with everybody else's story that has come here. It was just like before that, maybe people can't relate, but then like coming to Korea and starting from like the base, like from bare minimum, nothing. I think everybody's going to be able to relate at least a little bit with that. So
how much experience did you have before you landed in
coming?
Korea? Yeah.
I had officially been signed for maybe, I want to say like 5 years, but
oh wow,
I was in America. If you're under 18, like I said, you can't work so much. There's a lot of rules, and my parents, they weren't very like so supportive of it. So it wasn't like they want to go with me to every casting and every job and everything. They're kind of just like, go to college, get a real job kind of situation. Very traditional. So yeah, I ended up trying to do a lot of things on my own. And because of that, it was kind of hard, young adult trying to do all those things. But yeah, a few years of experience. I was doing shoots here and there, but nothing as crazy as like when I landed here and was working 5 days or more a week, you know, like that's completely different world. So
I mean, I think the thing is too, like, I mean, I spent a lot of my time through my modeling career in Asia. Man, like this is where I always suggest people to come first because, you know, like you can't get the same volume of bookings. And like the only way you're going to get better is like experience and time in front of the camera.
Yep, exactly.
Like the thing is like people think modeling is just stand there, do this, do this, do. I'm like, okay, go shoot 10 frames and like let's see if this is something we can put somewhere, right?
Yeah.
No chance.
Yeah, it's always like grass is greener on the other side. Always looks so easy, and then you get into it, you're like, what do I do with my hands? You know, like that's the first thing.
Like that Ricky Bobby where they just keep coming.
That was me. The first like 2-3 years was like awkward robot.
So like, what's a piece of advice you would have for somebody that's like, maybe like a listener out there that's really interested in fashion, has no modeling experience? I know some people have said like, you know, go sign up with an academy, you know, kind of learn, get some network, and then go out, find an agency or go freelance route. Like, what would you suggest to somebody just coming into the industry?
It varies person to person, and there's like a lot of things to kind of like summarize. Like I said, these days it's different from whenever we kind of started, but so actually, to be honest, I started like with kind of a Hagwon situation when I was 13 for like a year.
What's Hagwon?
It's like a
sorry, my Korean is
I'm trying to think like
zero,
what
so.
Academy, like model academy.
Okay.
Yeah. So whenever I was in the Midwest, they had this like kind of academy situation. So I did that for a year, and then the agency signed me and start working after that. At that time, I would not recommend that. Like if you're starting in Europe and in America, I would say just like go into it, because there's so many models that just get scouted and they just like throw them into it. Like when I was doing New York Fashion Week last time, tons of like new girls and guys, they just throw them into it, and you just learn by doing. But in my situation, like I was coming from middle of nowhere, didn't know what I was doing. So I was like, maybe I need to do like this kind of academy situation. Yeah. And it was helpful to get like some confidence and kind of an intro into the industry, but I don't think that's necessary, especially now with social media. I do agree with you that experience matters more than anything. So you don't really need that academy. If you want to do it for kind of having that confidence when you first start out, kind of know what you're doing when you start, then that's great. But you can find a lot of things on social media now, so you can go on YouTube and find all that kind of stuff for free.
Video, all that stuff, right?
Yeah, and you can kind of like practice on your own. You don't need to pay like thousands of dollars for that kind of academy. I know in Korea they do go to university for modeling here, which is like a different concept for me because we don't do that in America. Like I guess it makes sense if you're a theater major going into acting, that's kind of their mentality. But honestly, I don't think it's necessary. Because everything's kind of like hands-on experience based. I will say though, like work on your social media and social media presence, because these days, whether you like it or not, the clients, they're looking for that. And yeah, so I would say like social media presence and kind of building that way. The one thing I will say about like starting out freelancer versus agency is the agency will protect you. So if you don't know what you're doing when you're first starting out and you're a freelancer, you can get like a lot of kind of not great situations because you don't know what you're dealing with.
Taken advantage of for sure.
Yeah, especially as like a young girl, I would say just be careful, because I had some experiences. I've heard so many things being in the industry so many years. Just like be smart, and having an agency is good in the fact that they will like protect you from some of those.
Yeah, they'll do their best to shield you from like or like sort out
not
all
always, but
yeah,
for the most part. Like if you're just gonna get a random DM like, hey, I have this shoot, this pay, come to this address, like it could be not something so great, you know.
Of course, yeah.
So anyone that's just starting out and you're like super eager and like willing to do anything, as I was, like you can find yourself in bad situations if you're not smart about it. So it's like on one hand, social media is great because it's connecting clients directly to the models, but on the other hand, just like kind of know what you're doing. So it's kind of like a lot of things. It's hard just to say per person like what they should or shouldn't do, but that's kind of like my 2 cents on it. Like if you want to go to academy for experience or just to learn something before you start, fine. If not, like you can find all those things online.
Yeah, definitely.
So
yeah, I mean it's definitely a case by case situation. I mean some people are like, okay, like I mean even people now, like I meet them and they're like so good at what they're doing and like so good at social media, everything, but they still feel the need to be connected to an agency, which is totally fine. Like hey, you do you. If that's what works, that what works. But yeah, I definitely think like there's so much free content out there now that definitely wasn't out there before. That's like you can learn how to pose, just set up a tripod in your house, take photos. You know.
If you just know where to find it and you have that kind of like mentorship online, then that's great. Like I would just try and learn everything online and then jump into it. But I will say like in Asia and in Europe and America, the situation's a little bit different. Like I would be more on the pro side of signing with an agency in New York versus in Seoul, just out of my experience. Like some places, it's better to have the agency representation, especially if it's like a more dangerous city and you're there for the first time, that kind of thing. But I will say like in Korea, in my situation, like freelance or kind of like semi-free, yeah, it's more doable, I think.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like I think, I mean, anytime you're traveling, I always like advise like your first contract you sign with an agency, because like no clients are going to know you. You know, you don't know where to go in the city, smart, like where to do anything. So I'm always like, hey, like go do your first contract with an agency. If it's really great, resign. If you think you can do it on your own, good luck.
I agree with that. Now that you say that, 100%. Like start with the agency, kind of get your foot in the door and kind of ease into the market and then go from there. Like I agree. That's so smart. Everybody listen to him.
The thing, okay, that you can listen to. The 99% of everything else I say, just let it go out.
Oh my God.
Okay, so going back, you came to Korea, I guess that would have been like what, like 18 or something? For school?
I had
17?
just turned 18, so...
Yep.
Yeah.
So what was that like first coming here and like getting into the fashion market? Because that would have been...
It was rough.
Yeah. Oh, really?
It was rough because I wasn't used to the beauty standard here. And in America, it's like for modeling, it depends where you're at, but just in general at that time, they were more acceptable of a bunch of different images and styles. And it's kind of more melting pot. So we have models of like every different, like race and every appearance and like gender. But here it's still like at that time was a lot less. and they had this like one set beauty standard. So they're very like rough on that. And as a teenager, always hearing comments on your appearance and on your body and always being like forced to diet and stuff, that was like kind of difficult.
Hard to deal with,
yeah,
right?
It's hard to deal with. I mean, you kind of accept it. It's the industry and it's an appearance-based job. But at the same time, like when you're a teenager and you hear so many things and not expecting that coming in, I was like, ooh, this is a lot to handle.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like that's the point in your life where you're going through so many hormonal changes and all this stuff. So like those little things really make like a big impact, especially on like your self-esteem, your ego, all these things. So like what would you, because actually it's interesting, like I always tell people that are asking me about coming into fashion, like you really need to prepare yourself to have thick skin. Like you just got to let stuff roll 100%. Off because like this industry is just designed to reject you.
Yep.
So like what's like one of the ways maybe you dealt with it or you think is a good way of dealing with like these criticisms that like you kind of sign yourself up for, right?
Yeah, I think you kind of have to have that knowledge and mentality coming into it, which at the time I had started so young that I didn't have that built up. So I will say like the first few years when I was a teenager, I just let everything get to me and it like mentally was not great. And young girl having to handle all that pressure, it's very difficult. Especially you come to a foreign country, you don't have family support, you don't know anybody. But just having this knowledge coming into it, and being like, okay, I need to have thick skin. Don't take anything personal. It's not a competition with the other girls. Like, clients going to choose who they like regardless. And yeah, it's like 90% rejection, this job. Yeah. And so you kind of have to come into it being like, okay, this is a job of rejection. Yeah. But just because they say no doesn't mean like
you're
that
not
they don't
good
like
enough.
You.
It's just that person is
it just
more
means like
well fit for their brand.
For this campaign and for this situation, it's not the right image for us. Maybe next time. Yeah. So you kind of have to put your like mindset on the casting side of it and be like, okay, maybe their campaign, they're looking for a brunette, not a blonde this time. But, you know, maybe next season they're going to want someone like me. And just like, don't take it too personally and don't compare yourself to the girls that are at that casting. Because it doesn't mean that you're not like beautiful. It doesn't mean that you're not good enough. It just means that like in this situation, this job is not a fit. But there's plenty more clients that would love you. So you just kind of have that mentality like, okay, not today, but that just means something better is coming. And like, congrats to whoever got that. But next time it'll be for me. Like, you have to have
everybody listen to Shallen. That was so good. Like, that was so on point.
10 years of rejection and crying. No, but for real, like, just have the thick skin and just like, it's easier said than done. But yeah.
So like, what was it like when you first landed? Like, how did you go about like finding those first jobs? I know you mentioned you already had kind of like an agency connection here. Like, were you with them for an extended period of time?
I was with them for only like 3 months or more.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because I did come here. I was doing university, and then my agency there, they had placed me with one here. Like, I don't want to say names because I don't want to like
of course,
cause issue. But I was just like working with them off and on. And then they weren't getting me that many jobs. And, you know, whenever you're in Korea, it's a small country and everybody kind of knows each other. So if there's like a new face in the market, somehow the other agencies, they like find you. Yeah. I don't know if this is a situation for like everybody, but once you start working like a few jobs here and there and you work with like one agency, you kind of find like the other agencies or they find you, DM you something.
I think they just share the comp cards around and then they find you.
They must, because it just like slowly started building up from that. And then I was doing jobs like freelance and the agency wasn't really giving me that many jobs. Like I was going to castings all week.
Oh, wow.
But you know, whenever you go with the agencies here, like you go, there's tons and tons of like young girls and they're only going to choose like 1 or 2 girls. Whereas I felt like with freelance, it was
client was more direct.
Yeah, it was
more
direct.
Like they just wanted you versus like seeing a bunch and then maybe picking someone.
Yeah, because like those, they call all the foreigner model agencies and everybody just shows up. Whereas if it's like freelance, I feel like it's a little bit more direct and it was just like it was more often that I could work with those clients than it was like with the agency clients. Maybe it's like different per person, but sorry guys, I have like a cold, but anyways, kind of getting through this. That was kind of my situation. So I was like, oh, freelance is really good here. It's a freelancer market. And I already know some of the agencies. They're starting to contact me and give me casting. So it's kind of like that situation for me. I don't know if that's everybody else.
So like almost immediately like, well, not immediately, but like relatively shortly after coming here, you were like, okay, I'm going freelance market?
Yeah, maybe like 3 months.
Wow.
It didn't take that long. Yeah, I was working with the agency and like, yeah, I don't even want to name names, but one of the casting agencies here that's like a freelancer casting agency, they found me and they're like, oh, we like you. So they started giving me like jobs, and then a few others started contacting me. And I was like, if I can just work like this, why do I need to be going to castings all day, every day with this agency who's like, you know, that first agency? I would go into the office every week and they would like put a scale on the floor and they would weigh me in the office and check all my measurements. And at one point, like there was a bridal client. Mind you guys, I was like 18. Wow. I'm really young, thinner than I was now. Like I tried to stay in good shape, everything. And they put me on the scale and they're like, yeah, you need to just drink water for a week.
Wow, that's
see you like next Wednesday.
Off camera, I need to know who this is.
Yeah, and
like,
I was like
nuts.
So young that I just did it. But, you know, for a whole entire week, not having anything but water, that's like so unhealthy. It's so bad for you. Like, don't recommend it. It screws up your body. Like, if you guys can do that, like I'm not hating on anyone or anything like that, but it's just like not great to have a teenage girl in that kind of situation. Of course not. And after that, I was like, you know what? If I can just like work happily and make money with these casting agencies and do it on my own, I don't have to put myself through this like stress. And they also sent me to like plastic surgery clinic in Pibukwa, like a skincare clinic. And they had me like get Botox because they're like, you have wrinkles. I'm like 18.
What?
Yeah. So I was like, no, I don't want to get like Botox. They're like, no, but you have like forehead wrinkles, so you need to start doing that. So I was like,
whoa, that's
you know what? They're weighing me in the office. And like I feel awful working like this kind of situation. I mean, all the agencies here, everybody, they kind of have their own things. So it's like, it's just this beauty standard here is very strict.
Yeah.
I don't want to say they're bad people or anything. It's just the industry. And at that time, I think it was a little bit more strict than it is now. But there's like things that go on behind the closed doors, you know, that people don't talk about. So I was like super unhappy. Like, okay, I'm just going to freelance. I'm going to do it on my own. It's fine. And then I started freelancing and yeah, it's like, okay.
It's been going well since then.
Yeah, it's been going well since then.
What are like some of the hard things you find about freelancing versus agency?
I mean, like in Korea, the beauty standard is crazy high. So, I mean, you will still hear things about like your appearance, but you just like take it with a grain of salt. Don't take it personally. Everybody has their 2 cents and it doesn't mean that it's like right or wrong. What one person likes, another person will hate and vice versa. But I will say like having to handle a lot of things on your own. Whereas if you have an agency, they will make the decisions for you and they just give you the schedule. But if you're a freelancer, you're like your own brand manager. You're doing the marketing of yourself for yourself. You're talking to the clients and the director. Like everybody is like, you have to handle them. Yeah. So that's the one thing that I will say is a little bit tiring. Whereas if you had an agency, they do those kinds of things for you. They take a percentage, but they'll do it for you. And protecting yourself from like bad situations, you know, like creepy people, if you don't know what you're doing. Like I used to get so many DMs and they just be an empty profile, you know? Yeah. Like, oh, I'm from this brand. This is the pay and like this is the address, blah, blah, blah. And at the time, like it worked out. But thinking back, I'm like, wow, that could have gone like really wrong, you know?
Super south really quick.
Yeah. So those are the kind of things.
But it's kind of interesting because, I mean, that would be my first turn off. I would just be like, okay, I'm not, this is bogus request, right? Yeah. But there was another model on here who got, I think, like an MV booking for J Park. Oh, was it Camille? Can't remember. But they were saying like it was the same thing. It was like a blank profile with zero followers, like 0 posts, and I was like, gosh, that seems really, really kind of sketchy.
It seems sketchy, but it happens here, so it's kind of like it's weird. I've had that situation too, where it was a big brand. It was just like an empty profile, and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this. But then it ended up working well. So. I don't know, because I don't want to tell people to like reply to those either, because it can be something creepy. Like I had a situation where they said that they were casting for MBN or MBC TV show. Sorry guys. Anyways, so I sent my profile and my other friends, like I asked them afterwards, everybody had sent their profile for this. And it ended up being like a female escort service. Oh, whoa. Yeah. So there are some like creepy people out there. You have to be careful. They're like, oh, yeah, we're casting for this new TV show. Send us your profile. And, you know, you send your profile. It has, like, all your information, your phone number, everything on there. Yeah. And then they were like, oh, actually, we're like female escort service, blah, blah, blah. And I had asked my other model friends because we had a group chat at that time, and everybody was like, yeah, like we all got in the same situation. So
dang, that sucks.
yeah, I would just say like have friends in the industry and like share your information. If you're going to go to like a shoot or something, just make sure people know where you're at, and like don't just go anywhere. Like if a random profile sends you like an address, don't just like go there.
Yeah.
I know those things are like common sense, but also if you have these situations where it's, you know, something amazing and it's an empty profile and you go once and you're like, wow, this worked out, you can kind of change your mind in the future, and then that common sense is kind of like gone, you know?
Yeah.
So,
but why do you think it is that like these brands or producers or whoever, advertisers or whatever, are contacting through these like ghost accounts that seem like who would trust that, right?
Exactly. I also don't understand because I'm not on the casting side of things. Maybe they just don't want their personal profile to be getting like DMs from people, or if something goes wrong, they don't want to be getting complaints from their like own profile. But at the same time, you would think that they would try and make something a little bit more legitimate.
Right.
I mean, I'm not on the casting side, so I don't know like their mentality going into that, but there are some situations where it's like that. I mean, other times it'll be like an actual account and you're like, okay, this is an actual person. But yeah. Majority of the time, though, there are like these casting agencies in between. So it's not just like every time it's a DM from like a random account.
Yeah.
It's just like here and there, those kinds of situations. I'm just saying, like, be smart, guys. Just be smart. Try and use some common sense and like share your information with other people in the industry. Like,
yeah, I think like the modeling industry in general is like a very close knit community. Like, man, I feel like I can go anywhere now, and like somebody that I worked with on a contract somewhere at some time is there.
Oh my God, it's
or like
true.
they know someone.
It's crazy. Like, especially Korea, it's so small, so everybody kind of knows each other. And even abroad, I will say the model community, it's strange. Like, I was in Milan, somebody knows somebody. I'm like, oh, I'm friends with her. And like,
then you're like, let's go have pizza in Park Sempione.
Oh my God. I have a friend, she's like kind of supermodel status in Mexico. And I was shooting a job here, and I was talking to the girl, and she's like, you know Danielle? I'm like, yeah, she was my roommate in New York. And we're like, oh my God. Like, everybody know each other. And I'm in New York. Like, I was New York Fashion Week. I saw a Korean model. So I walk up to her backstage. I'm like, oh, are you Korean? Like, speaking Korean. And she's like, oh my God. And then it turns out, like, we have the same friend.
Oh,
like,
that's
it's just
cool.
such a small world. It's very strange. Like, everybody knows each other. So it's kind of nice. But at the same time, it's like, be careful. I don't know.
For sure. No, I'm totally with you on that.
Strange, yeah.
Like, so it sounds like you've traveled like quite a bit. I think like, to me, that's probably the highlight of modeling in general is like the ability to kind of just pack up and go wherever you want. I mean, that's not always the case because sometimes you can't get a contract. Yeah. But I think you can pretty much go, I don't know, you can explore a lot more than the average person. Yeah. Like through your travel, like what's been like your favorite place to go and work so far?
I know like every model, everybody has a different experience. In my situation, I have a mother agency. So the mother agency will tell me like, okay, you want to sign in Milan? Great. You buy your plane ticket, you go to Milan, I'll set up all the castings for you. And then I went there, meet all the agencies, and then you sign with one of them. That was the same situation for me with New York. Like, I had to front my own plane ticket to go there to meet with the agencies. So it's not like the models are getting free tickets all the time to fly around the world. It's like a lot of the time the models are paying for their own plane tickets, and they're paying for their own like model apartments or like Airbnb or whatever to go there and give it a chance. So like, yeah, if you shoot for like big brands, they will pay for your flight in if they like you. If not, like, you are paying for some of those things, which a lot of people, it surprises them. They're like, oh, I thought you were getting everything for free. No, I wish. But it's like an investment. So anyway, yeah, so I signed in Milan, and I went there to work for like a month, and I really loved it. The pay rates in Italy are quite low, but the buildings are lovely. Like, the people are lovely. It's just like beautiful place to be. Food's amazing. And, you know, like, the brands are really big, but I think it's notorious in Italy for the pay rate being low. Just for being there for like vacation purposes, really loved it. And yeah, New York, I've been off and on the past 3 years working there. I had an apartment in Astoria. I just got rid of it, decided to move back to Korea, staying here now. I love Korea. But yeah, the last 3 years I was mostly in New York, and I was working with a really big agency. They're very successful. Positives and negatives. But when I was flying back and forth, I was paying my own flights. So even I would book like a big campaign, they would be like, the client doesn't want to deal with, it's just like a headache for them to have to pay for the model to fly in. They don't want to think logistically about it. Even if your pay rate is like high, they're still just like, deal with it yourself, come in. Anyway, you're going to get the payment later. Like that's kind of their mentality for some things. Unless it's like, you know, Gucci wants you to walk for the resort show, then in that case, they're going to pay for your flight. But a lot of the times it's like, you have to talk with the agency if they're booking you as local or not. So in my situation, my New York agency was booking me as local for most jobs. So I would have to buy my plane ticket like sometimes up until like the night before I had to fly out of Korea to go back. So I remember in 2022, I was working the most. I flew back and forth maybe 6 or 7 times. And I paid for all those flights myself. But I was like, okay, well, the payment's going to be this much, so then it's going to work out. So that's kind of like what I was doing. And I loved it. It was great. But also, it's very tiring. Jet lag's really bad. I didn't know like anyone in New York besides my agency. So like ran myself down real quick. Like in the beginning, oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm flying around the world. I'm doing these things. But after a while, you're like, again, I'm on this plane again. Like, no, jet lag for another 2 weeks. So, I mean, there's positives and negatives. And I really love being able to travel and do those things. But it's not as glamorous as what it seems on the outside.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what people post on Instagram is like, it's never the truth.
Yeah.
But like, I think the unfortunate, I mean, to me, it's fortunate because I love traveling.
Yeah.
But I think it's really, really essential that like within the first 2 to 3 years of your modeling career, well, from my perspective, again, like everybody's situation is different.
Yeah.
But like, I really feel like you need to spend the first 2-3 years just travel.
Yeah,
because you're going to build your book way more diverse than anybody else because, you know, you get photographers from Spain or like wherever, Germany, and like they all have a different eye and way of shooting. And then it's like through that traveling, you find your go market, right?
Yeah, you figure out the image that's working.
Exactly. You know? Like for me, it was China. China was like just crushing China. But it's like, it's really hard market to stay in.
Yeah. Oh, you know? All the models go to China for money. It's great. It's a huge market. Everybody like go there. They work. But it's like, everyone always comes take a break somewhere else. Then they go to China for money. I haven't gone. I had contract before, and then COVID hit, so I didn't get to go. Maybe later. I don't know.
I think it's changed a little bit. Like I got a couple friends there now, and from what I heard, the money is not quite the same as it used to be. So like back in 2017, it was like phenomenal. Like it was like ridiculous. Some girls were getting like 600 an hour. Overtime was like what? Like 900 an hour.
Were they in like Guangzhou or like
no, Shanghai.
Shanghai? Oh, because it's so competitive. Everyone always like, don't go to Shanghai. Go to like.
No, I'm always like an advocate for Shanghai.
Oh, okay.
Because Guangzhou. So like, the thing is with China, like, it's really kind of 50. I think like if you have a really good agency, you're gonna go everywhere. You're gonna go Beijing, Hangzhou, Guangzhou, Xiamen, like here. If you have like a not so great agency in like one of the more like sub-tiered cities, like maybe Guangzhou, then you're kind of isolated to just that region.
I see.
But Shanghai, I think, was the best because you had all kinds of clients. Like it wasn't only like lookbook.
It's like international.
Yeah, so you have TVC, you have campaign, you have editorial, you have lookbook, you have like home shopping.
Did your agency give you guarantee?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, yeah, I heard with China, like always get the guarantee, like push for it no matter what.
Yeah. It's usually pretty high.
Yeah. So for China, like guarantee.
And then it's like every contract, you can just increase it based on like how much you made. And they're always like, yep, cool, no problem.
Yeah. But like I will say, New York, no guarantee. LA, no guarantee. Milan, no. Like, that's like Asia thing. I don't know. It's a very different market. Yeah. But
well, it's because like the top four is like Paris, Milan, London, New York, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody knows this, and it's like those ones are the most competitive. So I think it's like agencies know, our clients know, everybody knows that. Everybody just wants to go there to get some notoriety, build reputation, and then take that somewhere where now they can increase their price, right? But I think people kind of neglect. I think it's changing a little bit, but I think before people kind of neglected Asian markets. So like even Tokyo or some places in Southeast Asia. But now it's like people are like, okay, well, actually, like they shoot a lot of great jobs. They have great production, great editorial. Everything's the same, and I can get more money.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm pro Asia market, especially if you're just like starting out and you need to build your portfolio. I think like Korea, less jobs and less money maybe than China, but it's really safe, and so I think like it's very good for beginning.
I think the interesting thing here is too, like, it kind of depends. I know some freelancers still have managers go with them, but that was my first time. Like, I remember I think I was in Milan and a friend was in Korea and he was like, yeah, come. It's so crazy here. Like, somebody goes to the job with you. They translate everything. If you need a water,
oh my god,
they're basically like your PA, right?
Yeah, that's like Asia. That's a good thing. You know, you have the agency van and they take care of you. They translate for you. Like, if you're in New York, oh my god, they're like, okay, here this time, go. Have fun. Like, it's a jungle. You just go by yourself, and then there's like a huge line, and you're like, what am I doing? Like Milan too. Like, there'd be huge lines, and there'd just be like, I don't know what they are. They're like club sponsors or something. They would like come up to the line of girls, and they try and get you to go to the club, and I'm just like, ooh, creepy.
I mean, that's the worst part about like going for Fashion Week. Like, it's really cool because I think like that's the highest concentration of models or like really high quality, really professional models in like one spot at one time. So you can really network and meet a lot of people. But man, oh man, those show casting lines.
And like show pay, I'm sorry, I'm not even gonna go there, but like you're going so hard for you know, you have like casting day, fitting day, travel day, rehearsal day, and then show day, depending on like what brand you're doing. I'm like the big brands, go for it. It's worth it. It's great for your portfolio, everything. But like, man, those lines waiting outside and going through all of this, like crazy.
Yeah, I remember my first trip in Europe. My agency was like, hey, like you need to be here at this time, here at this time, here at this time. I'm like, okay, cool. Like first time, like in Europe, like I'm going to be early. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be this. And I show up and there's like 150 people in line already. I'm like,
yeah, and it's funny because they'll give you like the overlapping times, so you have to be across the city for the exact same like time slot for a different casting, and then you're barely like making things, and you have to like calculate, okay, I have this casting at this time, like I
would just kind of like go based on the brand and like who they booked last season and be like, they're not gonna book me. I'm just gonna go.
Yeah, that's what I do too. Like now with New York, like the first season I went to everything was burnt out, but now it's like I see the brand, I'm like, yeah, no.
Yeah, we're not a good fit, so I'm just going to go to the next guest.
Yeah. But that's crazy you have that experience too, like.
Yeah, like I signed, like I guess I can talk about it a little bit, like, because I'm kind of out of modeling now, but I used to be with, like, so I used to have an agency in Canada, and then I started going to Asia for a while, so I dropped them, and.
You started in Canada?
Yeah, because, like, I got first scouted when I was, like, 15. How old is it?
I'm like, you're perfect for modeling.
Maybe 15.
So makes sense.
And like I had a chipped tooth.
Oh, okay.
So like I had this terrible front chipped tooth. And like the agency that scouted me was Next. And I was like, agency. Oh, cool, great, good agency. Like whatever, like I'll go and check it out. But I think like I'm just trying to find a replacement word that's not like, I don't have to beep it out after. But like, I think I just didn't really think about it as like a great opportunity at the time. I was just kind of like, I just want to play sports with my friends.
Like a lot of male models, I feel they're not like, you know, they stumble into it somehow.
Yeah.
Where the girls are like, yeah, let's go. And the guys are like, what? Okay, sure, I'll do it. You
know,
then
like, you do it and you're like, oh, this is actually sick.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. And then, my agency in China, who was kind of like my MA at the time, oh wow, that's so much drama. But basically I was like, hey, like I'm taking some time off. I'm gonna go back to see my family, and then like set me up the meetings kind of like yours did in New York. Met with all the agencies. I signed with IMG World, then spent some time with them, in Europe. And then I just was like, you know what? Like Asia is like my home place. I just feel so comfortable here. Like I think like European and American fashion market are very, very different. Like especially the way clients are, everything. Like it's really like black and white.
It's very, very different. Like the image that they're looking for there also is very different from here. The level, like it's like Super Bowl or World Cup level. If you're in New York, you're going into casting, it's like Bella Hadid, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm going to go home. Like, why am I here? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole nother level, but I also agree with you. I feel way more comfortable in Asia. And that was like the whole thing also with building your portfolio in Asia and then moving it to that market too. Yeah. You kind of have to
doesn't translate necessarily the best all the time. Sometimes
I had to reshoot my portfolio in New York because they didn't like the image,
the style of like.
And these days, like marketing and stuff, you know, it's really big. But Asia is still like classic beauty or cute or younger vibe or commercial vibe. New York, it's different from like London and Paris. London's also kind of more commercial, but like Paris, Milan is very different.
High fashion.
New York is like trying to be super edgy these days, like non-binary talent's going strong. So when I'm there, I'm like more tomboy style because that sells better.
Oh, really?
Whereas in Asia, like I can't really be doing that in Korea. They don't understand it.
Oh,
it's
that's
like
interesting. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, like my agency in New York, they have male, female, non-binary. And they will request specifically like non-binary talent for certain jobs and shows and stuff.
Oh, really? Clients will?
They request. These days it's like very different. It's very
yeah, I don't think that exists so here at all.
No, that does not exist here. I think they don't even understand like non-binary.
I think that's just culture too. Like
yeah,
I don't really want to get into that too much.
It's a cultural thing.
Yeah, it definitely is. So like, where else have you worked in Asia, or like where else would you like to work in Asia, or do you feel like Korea is like, I'm here, I'm just gonna keep building and.
So originally, like I came to Korea and I wasn't planning to stay that long. Like work was going well, but I had planned to transition to China. So I had a contract with SE. Yeah, and
that was my old agency.
Yeah. Oh really? Yeah. Oh, like top. They're good. For Shanghai, and then COVID hit, and so I was kind of like, okay, I don't know what's going on in China. Let's wait and let's see. And then it started getting like, you know, things started getting like worse and worse. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to stay in Korea. So during that time, I just kind of stayed here and things were like crazy all around the world. Just stayed here, kept working. And then after that kind of cleared up a little bit, immediately went to Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Before COVID was when I went to Milan. So I went to Milan for like a month, but it's not that long. So it's kind of like back and forth. But anyway, yeah. So after the COVID situation kind of got a little bit better, I went to Los Angeles for about 9-10 months.
Oh, wow.
And I was working there, but the market's very, very different from the image that I wanted to go with. You know, like beachy girl, like LA
California
style.
Surfer babe.
Yeah, that's not the style that I wanted to. Like, I can do that, but that's not the style I wanted to go for. And plus, like, looking like everybody else is not a great selling point in my situation. So I was working there a little bit, and then I was kind of tired, so I came back to Korea, worked a little bit more, and then I went to New York. And the past 3 years have been mostly working in New York.
So, like, New York, Korea, New York,
yeah,
Korea,
New York, Korea, New York, Korea. Like, I would be here for 2-3 months, go back there for 5-6 months like this. So the majority of the time I will say, like, I probably was in New York. But recently I just kind of, like, got burnt out. I did all the jobs I wanted to do in New York. Like, yeah, it's kind of like my childhood dream was to go work in New York. And I was rejected whenever I was so young. And then I finally, like, made it. And I was living...
face!
Oh, yeah, but no, it's, like, not what it seems. Because I was living in the model apartment when I first got there. Do you know that?
I've been in too many model apartments.
Me and 5 other girls.
Yeah, it got
6 girls.
It got to a point where like I'd show up, and like I'd already, because like every time in my contract I would request a single room because I'm just the kind of person like I need my privacy.
Yeah.
Like I think the home is a place where like after work or after whatever you're doing, you just need to be able to decompress like peacefully and comfortably. Yeah. And I don't think a lot of people know what a model apartment is. So like maybe you can.
People think it sounds so great. It's like a
sometimes
college
it is
dormitory
though
kind of situation. Like if you have a really great agency, I don't know about IMG's situation.
Like I think it depends on your roommates the most.
Yeah, it depends who you get roomed with. But in my situation, we were me plus 5 other girls. And we were all from different agencies. So my roommate Danielle, hi Danielle, from Mexico, we were the same agency. And we ended up doing well, like New York Fashion Week castings. We did a lot of shows. The rest of the girls, they like hardly booked anything. Felt really awkward, really bad. But the other girls also from really big, like top agencies, like top tier. And it was just like a struggle because, you know, New York Fashion Week, the prep, girls are not like taking care of themselves. They're working out. They're not like eating and drinking properly.
Yeah.
And like stress is like pretty high because we're all going to castings all day. And then we come home and like it's a game of rejection. But then like if one girl's getting cast for something, everybody like gets, you know, kind of hurt by that.
Yep.
And it's like nice because we would all be able to like sit there and complain about like some client or some brand or like something. And we all are like sharing that together, which was nice. But on the other hand, it's also like we're there for money. We're there for business. So there are some like
tension
stresses,
in the house,
you know?
yeah,
It's
sure.
like just think about taking a bunch of young girls, putting them in this small apartment together, and then being like, okay, you're all gonna go to castings all day every day, not eat anything, not drink anything, and then at the end let's see who the winner is. Like it's kind of rough. So I do have like great friends that I made there, but it's not like the best situation to be in. It would be better if you have a place to kind of like decompress on your own.
Sure.
When you're constantly like surrounded by girls. And yeah, it's not, I'm glad I did it. It's a great experience. Not recommending it more than once.
I think the last 2 model houses, I lasted like maybe, the last one was 24 hours. And then the one before that was like 48 hours. Because I was just like, I was like, hey, look, cut it from my expenses. I'm not paying for the model house. Like, I'm going to go find my own place. Like, I cannot.
Yeah.
I know I have a job tomorrow. I got to be up at 6 a.m. And my roommates are coming in the house at like 3, 4, 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I need to be prepared for work.
It's like, it's a hit or miss. Sometimes your roommates are great. Sometimes they're not, but it's not up to you. And also the agencies, I don't know about your situation, but some of the agencies will charge quite a lot for that.
Yeah. Way too much sometimes.
Even though the apartment price is like, they're making money off of it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, that happens a lot here. Like, I remember some of my first contracts here, I was looking at like the expense list and I was like, wow, that seems like a lot. And then I would just go on Airbnb and find like a 2-bedroom like apartment for less than like a shared room with 6 other people. And I'm like, how? The math ain't mathing.
The math
is
math. Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's not making sense.
A lot of my friends and like also me included, now if I'm gonna go anywhere abroad, you get 2-3 people, you get an Airbnb and you split it, and that's way cleaner, probably in a better neighborhood. It's cheaper.
Plus, you trust the people you live with, right? Which is a big thing.
I recommend that. But if you're just gonna go for the first time and you don't know anyone in the country, like you don't have really any other choice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a great way to like kind of meet some people that may have more experience in that market or in general,
You're not
and you
being
can
lonely.
learn from. Yeah, exactly. Like I remember the first time like I went to China and like I obviously couldn't speak Mandarin, didn't know anybody there. And it's like, what do you do, right?
Yeah.
But then you have roommates that have been there for 3 months, 6 months, like 2 months or 1 month. And they're like, hey, like the grocery store's over here.
Yeah, so that is a positive of the model apartment.
I mean, there's pros and cons. I think it's something that I would do as maybe up until like 23.
You and I are too old for that now,
yeah.
right? Oh, getting too old.
Cut it.
Bye.
So like my question then is like, do you have anywhere else within Asia aside from China that you would be interested in doing a contract? Like anywhere south, like Thailand, Bali, Vietnam, Malaysia, Singapore?
I've had a lot of friends that have done, you know, Singapore, have done Bali, have done like other country, Thailand. I wanted to do that before, but these days I've kind of changed my mentality. You know, like younger and you don't really care about having a home, like starting a family, like those kinds of traditional value or those kind of like settling down kind of things. I didn't care at that time, so I would have done it then. But at that time I was just going to New York and focusing only on the New York market. I don't regret it. It's a good thing. Like I'm glad I did everything in my career that I wanted to. Nowadays I'm starting to transition out of modeling and more into like acting because I'm getting older and it's just like I feel it's more fun for me to be doing acting. But as far as like modeling in other countries, I'm kind of slowing down on that because I've kind of worn my body down the last few years traveling so much and just handling like all that stress on my own. So yeah, I think the last like 6-7 months, I decided like, you know what, I'm just going to go back to Korea. I'm going to get rid of my apartment in New York, and I'm just going to try and like settle down in Korea, work on like long term there, because I've been in Korea for so long now that it's become comfortable for me. Like whenever I'm in New York, I do feel a bit like a foreigner, even though like I'm American. I just haven't lived there for so long. And I've spoken Korean, like I speak Korean
like fluently.
Oh wow. The thing is like it's like, I don't know if we should cut this or not, but it's fine, whatever. I was dating like a Korean model for about 5 years. And so I spoke Korean like every day for like 5 years.
Wow.
And we were just together like the whole time and stuff. So that kind of like changed my culture a lot. And I didn't realize it until like after we broke up and I started, you know, living in New York, traveling back and forth, those kinds of things. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Something's changed here.
Yeah, definitely.
And I didn't realize it until like it took living in New York again for me to realize there was a difference. But I mean, like living in Korea, it's very safe as a female. Like in New York, I can't just put in my earbuds and walk around outside.
For sure.
Especially at night. Like it's just a different culture. It's, I don't want to say it's like unsafe, but you know, Korea's just incredibly.
Let's be honest, it's a little bit unsafe. Whereas like Korea, you can like have 2 iPhones out that you just bought and walk into the darkest alley and just be like,
la, la, la. New York, oh my God, like every day on the public transportation there, it's crazy these days. I cannot, like, the stories that I can tell, you guys, just.
I mean, you can just go on Instagram and follow like Subway Creatures or like some of those New York subway accounts.
I will tell you, that's every day.
It's crazy.
Every single day in New York, that's every day. Like I'm just laughing to myself.
But I mean, I think that's kind of cool because like, it's
cool, but it's draining.
Yeah, like
it's
every
like,
day
what's
is
gonna
new,
happen today?
But yeah, you're also like, am I gonna get stabbed right here?
Yeah,
is somebody gonna steal my shit?
It's like, it's funny, but at the same time, it's very draining because I'm like introvert. If you're an extrovert, maybe you're someone that's like loves that energy. But for me, I was like getting drained. I'm like, okay, it's time to go back to Asia.
Okay, so
Korea.
I have another question then. So like, I think modeling is an industry designed for extroverts because like you really need to kind of put yourself out there as much as you can, and like whether or not you want to do it or you don't want to do it, it's just how you make connections that help you grow your career. But I'm the same way too now. Like now I don't want to leave my house. Like before I was always like, let's go out, let's do this. But now I'm just like,
it's like too much.
Yeah, like I'm so introverted now.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with that. Anything that's entertainment, acting, like theater, modeling, this whole entertainment, I don't know what to call this. Like this whole industry, all of that is very extrovert friendly.
Yeah.
And I think like I was super introverted when I was a kid. And coming into this industry, it took me out of my shell and I was able to become more extroverted and be able to talk like this. So I'm very grateful for that. And it was very difficult the first few years, but because of that, now I have like speaking skills and I can talk to a lot of people, but I still get drained. It's still like the same introvert, but I will say extroverts seem to get ahead quicker because it's very connection based and people oriented. So I won't, like, there are a lot of introverts in the industry though.
For sure.
They just don't seem like introverts.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, the last shooting I did with a Korean model, she was like so introverted. I could see she really wanted to like try to talk. And like I was trying really hard, and I guess there was like some language barrier.
Yeah.
But I was probably just like coming way too fast with too much English too quickly. Yeah. Where she just kind of like shut down.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, I didn't mean it to be like that.
It's like all of us do well for about the first hour or so, and then you start getting drained, and you're like, okay, conserve your energy, like get some coffee, something.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, whenever I go on set, it's kind of like you kind of have this other persona.
Oh, for sure. It's
it just like clicks
turning on a switch.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's like work mode. Okay. It's not your day-to-day personality where you're hanging out with your friends and like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm just like, okay, work mode, go, go, go. And then I get home and I'm just like exhausted.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I feel like it's definitely like you need to be able to flip on a switch. And like, because I mean, being in front of the camera, I guess after experience, like it's just like riding a bike.
Yeah.
But initially it's like takes so much out of you because you're so conscious of like, or you're trying to be conscious of like, oh, that photo's not good. Okay, I need to do this a little bit better.
You're very self-conscious and you're thinking about like way too many things. It's like, I'm sure I don't know if you remember the very beginning, but in the very, very beginning, when you're
my
drained and
first
you're like
job.
awkward and you're shaky in your hands, you're like, what do I do with my hands? That photo looks awful. Like you're too much in your head. But after a while, I don't know, like if you're in the same situation now where it's just like you go on set, you don't even think, it just clicks on because your body's like memorized how to do everything.
For sure.
And you like already know, okay, the lighting's like this, the camera's right there, this is the angle they're shooting, this is how the photo's gonna look, this is the type of posing I need to do. Okay, this is the jacket, it has zippers, I need to show off the zippers. Like everything is kind of more automated because you've done it for so long. But I think that's also a thing where people think like modeling's so easy. But these kinds of things you have to usually consider in the beginning. It becomes like part of the talent. So it's like you have someone that's been in the industry a long time. I think that's like a built-in talent that they've like learned. So I want to say like, yeah, it's not so easy. It's really draining. It's not like something that's, oh, she's just pretty, just stand there and you like give them money. Like,
no.
Yeah.
I think there's like a pretty quick like learning curve, and then it just kind of plateaus. Cause like there is like at some level, like I guess like you could always somehow take it to the next level, but then I think that's more like body improvement.
I would say like if you're going into acting, like commercial side of it. Yeah, it depends if you're doing like lookbook, high fashion, runway, like what you're focusing on, or if you're trying to do like all of that, there's more to learn. But these days, I don't know. Are you like more like, I'm a runway model, I'm only a runway model, or are you kind of doing like everything?
I mean, these days I'm not really focused on modeling. Like the only reason I'm really taking jobs now are to introduce clients into the platform and get them like if somebody contacts me through DM, I'm like, oh, hey, like here's my booking link, book me through Spotlite. Because like I know like the reality is some clients are going to book you for every season, every campaign, every whatever. Like I've had that before, but I think the large majority will book you once, book a bunch of models in between, and then book you again. And I think like the value for me is like, hey, look, like we're really trying to build this thing that's for models, for agents, for agencies, for client, like to create a better environment for the fashion industry. And if I can just bring a client on here that, hey, I'm still going to get booked, and then next campaign they can book somebody else from there, you know what? It's a win-win for me.
Yeah.
Because
when you were doing it before, were you focusing only on one though? Were you like, I'm a high fashion model, I'm a runway model, I'm a commercial model, or were you just kind of like taking everything?
I think I was taking everything. I think my start was definitely like commercial, because my first ever contract was Shanghai. So it was like, you know, like that's just the commercial market.
I'm surprised because I feel like you would be really strong for runway.
I did some good runways. Like I did Dolce, I did Fendi, Prada. Like I had a few good shows.
You have a great look for runways. So.
I just didn't. The thing is, like, I love the walk. I hate everything else before
the process.
Yeah. Like, I'm like, man, like, even. Okay, so like one of the biggest brands, like most well-known brands that I walked for, I'm not gonna say who they were, but they booked me for a show. It was like I had 2 fittings, and then I had a hair and makeup fitting. I got selected to do the pre-rehearsal, so that was like 4 days, and then final day was rehearsal and show day. And I was like 5 days of work, and I think it was like $1,200 US or something.
Yeah, that's
I was happens. Like, dang, that sucks. Like, I'm so tired. And like the reality is like, that's decent. I don't know. What does that come out to? Like pretty minimum wage, I think, after like a full week of work.
If you like work it out and all that stuff and all the stress you have to put your body through to like travel, to diet, to get prepared for that show, like the same. Like I was contacted before. I didn't do the show, but it was for like Gucci Resort when I first signed in New York, and they were doing it like in some other country. I don't remember where, but they had like 3 rounds of castings.
Wow.
So they of course do like the comp card casting through the agencies, and then they want to see you in person, and they do like a second round in person, and they were like flying the girls in because I was here. So like, okay, they're gonna fly you in to Rome for the secondary casting and then whatever. But I know that they had like 3 casting dates, and then they had the like fitting day, hair, makeup day, travel day, rehearsal day, show day.
Crazy.
And the pay was still like only similar to like what you said. So that's like a ridiculous amount of work and you have to fly across the world to get this amount of payment. So,
but I mean, the thing is like, there's pros and cons, right? Like, I think if you book like a really high profile show, it definitely like translates into other jobs.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Or like increases your price in another country because you have these like big name value brands now associated to your career. But it's just like, man, like I really wish shows paid more. I would have pushed for them.
It's like
so much
after
harder.
You do it a few times, I think that's what a lot of the models is like, okay, it's good for your portfolio. You do it a few times, you can say like, okay, I did this show. But after that, you're like, I have to do all this for, like, if they book you for a campaign, say like Gucci, I do their show, and then they're like, okay, we want you to be front face of the campaign. You get a lot of money off of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Or if you become like one of their models that's like on stay, that's great. So it's like there's pros and cons, but also if you're just gonna be like, I don't know, only show girl, show guy, I would caution against that. Like try and get some money from commercial stuff and like look book.
Well, I think it's like that funny like cross, right? Because like fashion is really split into commercial and like what you would call fashion, like high fashion, like editorial, campaign, runway, and print kind of.
Like commercial lifestyle.
Yeah, I just mean like more so like how can I explain this? Like fashion to me is more like high profile runway, high profile magazine, like major campaign or global campaign, but with like a fashion based brand. Yeah. So like if you book a global campaign with Samsung, I don't consider that fashion. I consider that commercial, right?
Yeah, same.
So like I don't think I can articulate it the way I think about it.
It's the brand, I think.
Kind
brand
of,
quality and like yeah, I agree.
But it's like people that are in fashion are like, because you know, like some profiles fit fashion, some profiles fit commercial. Yeah. They're always like, I want to do more commercial work. You guys are getting paid so much. And then commercial models are like, oh, I want to do fashion. Those jobs are like so cool.
But I feel like the fashion side of thing, everybody wants to do the like Gucci runway show. They want to do the Vogue editorial. But then like, okay, where's the money coming from?
Exactly.
So it's like when I first started, I was always more commercial face. People always like, you should go into acting, you should do commercial. And I was like anti, because I was like, I want to do high fashion. You always want to do the thing that like you can't do, you know? And so I was like, sorry guys.
No, please take your time. If you need to grab water, that's okay too.
Anyways, so changed my look, went super edgy, was able to do like more high fashion stuff. And then I realized like, where's all the money? Like back to commercial.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of models end up transitioning that way anyway. I mean, it's funny because now I only want to do like high fashion stuff.
Really? I'm like only want to do commercial now.
I mean, I want to do commercial for the sake of getting paid really well. But like if I had a choice between two jobs right now, I think I'd rather pick like a really cool editorial. Just because like I think I spent too much time pushing for commercial work, which is not a problem. Like don't really have regrets. Yeah. But like I really like see some cool editorials now, and I'm like, dang, that team looks like it would be so good to work with, you know? Like,
but I feel these days it's starting to like be blended. The lines are starting to be blurred, and especially with the influencer market, and they want to have influencer for campaign, or they're using celebrity for the high fashion lookbook campaign, editorial, any of that stuff. I feel like it's kind of been blurred. So it's in a good way. I don't think it's bad.
My question is this, like, I think if we look like pre 2019 or maybe 2018, modeling was like really appearance based. You know, like if you look at like old Giorgio Armani shows or whatever, like
connections based. Oh,
well, sorry. I mean, like
appearance based too, yeah.
But like, I mean, if you look at like who was walking for those shows in like the early to mid 2000s, it was really like, wow, that guy is Giorgio Armani, like man, muscular, you know, like just accentuates the brand. Where now I feel like the last like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, it's really more of a shift as how can we leverage this person's like social network or influencer whatever to like push our brand out more versus like, wow, this guy is.
Yeah. I mean, when you and I were growing up and it was more like old school, you know, that era of like supermodels and everything, the whole industry just shifted all at once. And at first I was kind of like annoyed and complaining, but then again I realized if I'm gonna be annoyed and complaining, it's not gonna change anything, and you just kind of have to accept, okay, they want influencers, now I have to be a more influencer. Even I don't want to do that, but it's like, do I want to keep doing this job or not? Yeah, so you have to adapt. And even now, like, I have trouble adapting to that because it's like you have nostalgia.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
The supermodel era, it's gone. But yeah.
Yeah, the Victoria's Secret like mega shows don't really exist so much anymore, right?
Yeah, I mean that whole thing was another mess. But
so like,
yeah,
what do you think about? I think we can kind of like. I just want to talk about one more topic, and then I think we can kind of wrap up. What do you think about new tech now? Because I think, personally, my opinion is like we're right at the beginning of what the influencer era was, with like artificial imaging now coming in.
I knew you were gonna talk about AI.
Yeah, no. Well, I think it's
all the models hate.
I think it's something that's like really valid to talk about because
it's valid. It is.
It really affects a lot of people, right? Like, if a brand decides to use an AI model for a job, well, now the photographer's out of a booking, the makeup artist is out of booking, studio, model, everybody.
I mean, everything always evolves and things happen like this, but at the same time, like, you even see it with musicians. There are AI that are able to replicate people's voices, and then they don't even record like the songs anymore. And so you can see like the artists are kind of against this kind of thing. It's kind of dangerous in a way because people can manipulate that and make lies and stuff. So I'm also very cautious about it. And yeah, AI is going to be able to replace a lot of things, but I also feel people like, oh, it's going to completely just wipe out your career. I disagree with that. Because at the end of the day, I think people want to follow influencers. People want to follow people, and they're interested in like their lives and everything. So maybe it's gonna cut into it a bit, but I don't think it's gonna completely just like get rid of the whole industry. Yeah, it's like not great, but it's kind of like, is there a way to stop that? Because that's what's happening already. It's kind of what's gonna happen in the future. So I'm not sure.
I think it's inevitable that AI replaces a lot of work. But I'm on the same page as you where like I think AI is never going to replace like
humans,
major brand campaigns, or obviously it can't replace runway, or some editorials might kind of blend real and artificial to create like really crazy concepts, but still kind of creating something that people are like, wow, that's an amazing image that a teen did on location or something. Yeah. But I feel like AI is really going to come in and replace a lot of like the bulk of the shootings, which are like lookbook, e-commerce stuff.
Like smaller brands, ones that people that they're not really following who they're using or anything. I agree with that, but right now I think the technology is not there because I've seen a lot of the campaigns and a lot of the social media influencers that the AI are doing, but I just feel like something's missing. It feels still not there yet.
Yeah, for sure.
So at least for another like 10, 20 years, I think it's like...
Oh, I don't think it's going to be that long. I think this is like 2 years away.
I know in some of the commercials they're starting to use like, I'm not going to name names, but like some of those, but they still look unreal. At the same time though.
But I mean, look at it like where it was a year ago, right?
Yeah, things do happen really fast with technology.
It's so crazy quick.
Just personally for me, like I don't know about everybody else, but for me, I don't want to see AI. I don't want to hear AI music. I want to see something that's produced by another human being. Because like as a human to another human being, I want to connect with other human beings. I don't want to see something that's like fake. I mean, I know like social media is edited and stuff, but at the end of the day, those people still are human beings. They still have lives. They still have like things going on. So I don't know. For me, that's like what I want to get behind.
Okay, so then my question is like, I'm not like.
No,
I just want to like
go for it.
I just want to kind of like pick your brain a little bit. So then, how like if you take the standpoint of like, I really don't like images that are altered in a way that's unrealistic or unattainable, right? Like
which is like literally everything in the industry, but still.
Right? So that's my point. So then like, where is the line drawn where it's like, okay, this is too much and we need to kind of like take a step back? Because like everything
it's already
you see on
like
Instagram
so much edited
is
fake.
It's fake.
But it's backed by a real person. I mean, there are fake people. There are fake, like, if we're looking at a lot of the supermodels of this era, I don't know of our era, but like you look at Bella Hadid, Gigi Hadid, Kendall Jenner, they have a huge influencer backing. They have a lot of followers, and that's what people were like interested in their daily lives. Like, oh, okay, Gigi Hadid did this campaign. Sure, it's like really Photoshop, but it's still Gigi Hadid. And we like her because we know her like background, we know her personality, we saw her on TV, like whatever. I feel like there's just something else that's like there besides, yeah, sure, the photo can be like Photoshop and manipulated, but at the same time, it's like that's still a person behind that with a story. And like people kind of, you know, the Kardashians, like they have this thing behind them. I'm not like into social media. I don't watch like TV shows and stuff so much, but I don't know. I think it's just gonna be hard for the AI to completely replace like the field completely. I do agree, like everything's kind of gotten to a point where it's like way too manipulated and like photoshopped and everything like that. And I'm also against those things, but it's kind of like not my choice, you know. I don't know. It's kind of like hard to completely get behind like one side or the other because there's positive and negative on both sides.
I mean, I just think it's interesting because, you know, like this entire industry is set up to make you want something that is not realistically attainable, right?
Yeah, which in the beginning, like if you think about it, the whole idea in the first place is there's some issues there, but
no, for sure. Like I think like this industry is really set up to like kind of like push down your self-esteem and everything, so you feel like you need to consume and buy more product to get yourself to that level.
Yeah, but also you could look at like brands like Nike that use athletes that are very inspiring, that inspire people to take action or do something. Like it doesn't have to be like for a negative. I know a lot of the brands, they are using it in this way. And that's why I'm very careful about like the content that I want to post online, because I don't want young girls looking up to me and being like, oh, I have to starve myself to look like her. Like I don't want that. And that's why I'm like pro American market right now is using, you know, plus size model or they're using like curve or like they're using all different, the diversity ranges.
Shapes, sizes, it doesn't
gender,
matter.
everything.
Right? Yeah.
I think that's like more, not correct, but I think that's like better than just putting someone who is unobtainably like gorgeous, skinny, tall, whatever, just like some sort of idol figure. But at the same time, like that's kind of what the industry is running on to. So that's why I've also transitioned out of modeling so much and going more into like acting, where it's a little bit, I mean, it's still appearance based, but there's still something more like built on talent inside. I mean, modeling takes talent, but at the same time, it is more image based.
Yeah, no,
you can't
there's no doubt.
deny that.
Like I think like a lot of people think like, well, like if I'm being like really blunt, like no, not everybody can model. Like that's not true. Like I think there's a brand for everybody. Anybody can get booked by that brand.
Like these days, it didn't used to be like that.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
But finding that one brand is really tough. Can you build a career out of it? Not a chance.
Yeah.
But
it's just things are just getting more complicated with the use of like more technology, more social media, and like it's not even just like with AI and modeling. I think technology ends up replacing a lot of jobs, but then on the other side, there's a lot of jobs that will be created by it as well. So it's kind of hard to predict what's going to happen in the future. But at the same time, like I don't want to be like anti-AI. The one thing I will say though, I have a friend, she did not model for a campaign, but she ended up having her photos used for the campaign because of AI.
Like, did she get paid for it though?
No.
Oh, really?
She had no clue. She just saw the photos and she's like, why is my face there? So this is the kind of thing that I think legally there needs to be something put in place.
So what happened next? Did like she pursue legal action? Or
yeah, but like, what are you going to do? Like, they can just block you. And so I'm like, this is in New York. I don't know about like other countries, but I do think there needs to be some sort of legal system put in place, because I know like musical artists also, they can have the AI replace their music, and then what are you going to do? Like models, if someone wants to use my face, they can just make like AI of me, and then a brand can pay for that and use it. So like, how are we going to protect the talent? That's the thing that I'm most worried about. Like, sure, AI will take over, like some brands will use the AI, fine, but the people that are already existing in this industry, like there needs to be something to protect us from AI, like taking my face and using,
and just making like slight alterations so it's not your face, but it still is.
But you can tell
face.
It's like you, you know, and then you don't get paid for it, and the AI gets paid for it. Like that's the kind of thing I'm starting to be worried about, more so than just like AI doing jobs.
That's a good point. Like I never really thought about that.
Like what
I would
would you
always
do?
assume, well, like if there was like enough basis, like obviously first I would like contact a lawyer, preferably like an entertainment lawyer who specializes in like litigation for like this kind of like industry. But I don't know what like the boundary is for like how close that image could be to your face, or like, because like maybe they can just tweak your eye color,
but you can still tell it's you, and if the buyers can still market, they can still tell it's you.
I really don't know,
and you're not getting paid for it now.
It's a very interesting point. Like
it's the same with like the celebrities with the like deep fakes and all of that, and people think it's like actually them and it's not. It's like there needs to be something. But then again, if these are all in other countries too, it's like legally, what are you going to do whenever it's, say, in China, you have a giant billboard and it wasn't you? It's like they're using AI to make that billboard and you didn't get paid for it. This is the kind of stuff that I'm starting to be like a little wary of. Okay, so like AI we can make, but the AI, their face is based off of who?
Yeah, it's an interesting point. No, you know what? Like
that's what I think about more.
I think like I'm definitely going to go home and think about that a little bit more, because like it was never really, because I don't think it's really started to penetrate the market that much where it's like a concern, but it's definitely a valid point that like it's coming and we need to start setting up like precautionary measures so like people
to protect our images.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
It's going to be really hard because it's like an international
it's
thing.
You're going to be impossible almost, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's the one
That's
thing.
a great point. I never thought about that.
Okay, make like a random AI billboard, fine, but if it's gonna be me, that's a whole nother story, you know?
Interesting.
Hey, I didn't shoot that Zara campaign. Why am I there? Where's my money?
That's interesting. So are these like some of the reasons like now that you're transitioning into acting?
There's a lot of reasons I'm transitioning into acting. That is one of them that I've thought of. Like going forward, okay, I see the industry's going this way. I also like, I'm not so much into like influencer, social media, that kind of stuff. If I was, then sure, like maybe keep doing the modeling side of things. But I'm just like, okay, I've been doing this for such a long time now, and like I go on a set, it's just like a robot. Like I don't feel energized by it anymore, because I'm not like I'm learning, but I'm not like learning the same as I was before. Whereas I feel with acting, it's like everything's new to me. Sure, I know how to look in front of the camera and I'm comfortable being on set, which is like, I think a lot of people that just jump into acting, this is like a plus for me, because I've already been on set so much that I know about like the lighting and the production, and I know about like a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, because for commercials I feel it's very similar for like drama movie. But on the other hand, like memorizing scripts, learning how to play a character, like all this stuff is so different, and it's very interesting and fun to me. But I have the added benefit of like, okay, I know how to work in front of a camera.
Yeah, that's great. No,
so it's like using what I already know, what can I transition into that's going to be more long term. But it's not easy.
I think it's a pretty common like I don't even know what you would call it, like
switch?
Yeah, like just like
transition?
Yeah, like I think it's pretty common for people to kind of go somewhere still within entertainment, which is really vague.
Yeah.
But I think like you already know your angles, you know how to move in front of a camera, and you know how to take direction, work with crew, like all these different things. It's just that added layer now of playing a character that you never played before.
Yeah, being a different person completely, but it's fun, and at the same time, like I love being on set. I love doing new things. So it's like one of those jobs that changes like every day. You're not doing the same thing. You're not going to the same place every single day.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like that's more comfortable, and I need to build off of what I already have my career 10 plus years in. I don't want to just like transition to doing something brand new and start from zero.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of my mentality about it. And I already shot like debut movie. It's gonna be coming out the end of this year.
Wow, cool.
In Korea. Yeah,
like
it's a Korean movie. Speaking in Korean.
Whoa, that's
someone
cool.
saved me. Like I did not expect that to be happening.
How did you get casted for it? Like what was the
like last year? So
okay, let's finish on
it's crazy stuff. Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, please watch the movie. This is a Kwango. This is an advertisement for me. I'm not the main character. I'm one of the mains. Like I'll say it. I'm one of the main's wife. Because we're speaking in English. It's Korean audience. I'm safe. So the movie is called Lobby. The director is Ha Jung-woo. He's also playing the lead character.
Are we allowed to talk about
Yeah,
that?
we're allowed to because he already, there's like a press release and stuff.
Okay,
so they're going to be, I think the end of this year it should be coming out. It's going to be released in Korea.
Wow.
The movie's in Korean. It's Ha Jung-woo's movie. He's the lead character. And so I shot, like, my role is not very big for it, but I'm thankful that they gave me a few lines in it. And I'm working with, like, people that are top
Were the lines
field.
in Korean?
So I had lines in English and in Korean.
Oh, wow, cool.
But I was like shaking because I've done like commercial acting, but it's not the same as movie acting.
Yeah, for sure.
And especially with people that are like top level, you know?
They've been doing modeling, but acting for the last 12 years.
Yeah,
right?
so it's like my very first time in this kind of situation, and all of them have been acting for like 20 plus years. Because everybody on that movie, like I'm the youngest one. I think everybody's like 40s, 50s. Wow. And so I was just sitting there, like my hands are shaking. I'm like,
how long was like let's take me through like the casting to the filming to now.
I actually was not like, I wanted to do acting, but I didn't know the route to get into it. And I had kind of like given up on modeling last year in about January. I was contacted to do like Dior in-house show here. So I came into Korea, did the Dior show. And then right whenever I finished, I was planning to go back to New York. And an agency contacted me here. They're like, hey, we have this audition for a movie. Do you want to try? And I was like, you know what? Why not? I'm going back to New York anyway. So like if I mess up, if I embarrass myself, like
who cares?
Whatever, like who cares? That was kind of my mentality going into it. Like I did not care at all because I was like, I'm not going to get it anyway.
That's the thing. Every casting you go to, fashion, commercial, doesn't matter. I swear, when you're like, I'm never going to get this, you always book it.
That's always what happens. No, it's true because you don't care. And they're like, ooh, she's confident.
She's
it's
so
like, actually, I just don't
cool.
care. You know, like.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't my industry anyway. So I'm like, I'll never see these people again. But so like I went into the casting. Apparently, like the role, I fit the image really well for it. So that was a plus for me. But I like went in and I didn't care. I was just like very casual, like, hi, everyone, what's up? Like, I was like, whatever, just do my acting stuff. And they're like, oh, nice. Okay, good job. And right there, they're like, okay, all right, let's go. Let's sign the contract.
Cool.
So I was like, oh, okay.
How long was the filming?
And the filming, it only took for me, was it like in total, maybe like a little less than 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
But it was split up a lot because I had to film for 3 or 4 different scenes. And the movie took like almost a year to film.
Oh, wow.
And so like it's not a main role. If you're a main role, you're going to be filming like ridiculous months on end. But for me, like I had to shoot a few days here and there. And it kept getting delayed. So I finished filming like in December actually.
Oh,
we
wow.
started filming maybe, was it right before June? Maybe May, June. And
of last year, right? Yeah.
Last year. So I had to stay here the whole entire time. I had planned to go back to America and work with my agency in New York, but then I signed on for the movie. You can't like leave the country. You have to finish filming. So it kept delaying. And then I finished my scene in December and then I went back to the States. But yeah, it's going to come out the end of this year. It's a dark comedy. It's really funny, guys. You got to watch. Like, I don't know if everyone's going to get it in Korean.
Plug it.
But guys, like I was shaking for real because it's my first experience. I'm very, very grateful because I didn't even expect to like stumble into this industry. Like I thought about, maybe I should do acting, but I really hadn't like tried to go for it because I didn't go to school for it or anything. But now I'm like starting to think about it more seriously. So that's going to be the first debut role or something that I've done. And then I started filming like a little bit more things here and there for like Netflix, like 1 episode kind of things.
Wow.
But,
That's cool. That's
starting to stumble into it. Please don't grill me. If you guys, I'm not even gonna watch the movie because I'm like scared to see my own acting. I'm gonna like cry.
I'm sure like everybody's gonna blow up your DMs with like
it's a comedy,
like
so if
videos
I suck, it's fine,
like.
But yeah.
Well, like I think that's like the perfect note to cut it. I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. Like I think you provided like a lot of really good insight that I've been looking for from some guests. And like, wow. Stay tuned for Lobby, right?
Yeah, Lobby
coming out sometime this
like in the fall
year.
Yeah.
Or this fall.
By Ha Jung-woo, Lobby.
Wow.
See you guys. please don't grill me. I tried my best.
Yeah, congratulations. I mean, it sounds like a great stepping stone to now kind of get into acting,
I'm grateful.
right?
Thank you to production. Thank you for giving me a chance. But no, I love being able to sit down with you and finally talk. Like, we've seen each other around.
Yeah, we've done a couple shootings together for sure.
Yeah, never got to like have a real conversation until now, but.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Oh, wow, it's just going to keep going and going and going.
Yeah, but thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Shallen. Yeah, I guess we'll try to get you back on if you're not like super, super famous in the fall.
Oh my God. Thank you. You're
thank
so
you
sweet.
so much for your time, Shallen.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
We'll post Shallen's socials and booking link down below. Yeah.
Until
that's
next
a wrap.
time. Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.